Hello, this video will be on installing Linux Mint version 13. So let's get started. To begin with, let me go ahead and zoom in on my screen so that you can make sure you see it. And let's start the installation. To start off with, all you got to do is just download the Linux Mint ISO and then burn it to CD, put it into your system, and boot up your computer. And you will see this come up when you boot up your computer. So let's go ahead and start. For now, I'm using a virtual box to install my to install Linux Mint 13. Going through the process. And let's see here, any minute now. Okay, so what's happened here is Linux Mint, this is a live CD, so it'll boot up to this desktop here, and then from here, hold on, let me back out a little bit. Alright, and then from here you can go ahead and install Linux Mint. As you can see, you have the this right here. This simulates having the CD or the live CD in. Once you get to this point and you see this desktop, all you do is you come here, you right click on this CD, you can press open, or you can double click on it with your left mouse button. That works just as well. And it will bring up this screen that will allow you to install your Linux Mint 13 onto your system. Choose your language, highlight it, and then go next, or click the continue button, and then it takes you here where it goes over your hard drive to see if you have enough hard drive space and if you have an internet connection. For the internet connection, it doesn't really matter. You can have it if you want to. That way it'll do the updates, or you don't have to have it as well. So if you're not connected to the internet while you're installing this, that's just as fine. Most of the time when I install Linux Mint, I'm not connected to the internet. But you do, if you have a laptop, you do want to make sure your power supply is plugged in, because this could take a while. And then you just click next. And now from here you can choose how you want to install Linux Mint. You can choose the default, which is it'll the first one here, it'll erase everything on your hard drive and install Linux Mint fresh. Me, I do it a little different. I choose something else, which means that we can go in here and we can choose our own size for your hard drive. So if you want to choose the default, choose this one. This will erase anything that's on your hard drive and install Linux Mint. What I normally do is I do a custom install, and I choose something else, go to next. Okay, this is going to be your hard drive. Come down here to the installation to this button here and click new partition table. This is going to come up, and then you just click continue. Alright, and then you're going to see your hard drive space. Alright, and then from there you can just click on add to add a new one, or you can right click. I guess that doesn't work in that virtual environment. Just click on add then, and then you want to go ahead and put in your partitions. For most Linux operating systems, you basically only need 3 partitions. You need the partition for your swap files, you need the partitions for your bootloader, and you need the main partition for your root file and your home files. You can have more if you want, but those are the minimum that you want to have. And usually what you want to do is the first partition should be for the boot. It should be the boot partition. Okay, and that's where your bootloader is going to be, or your MBR is going to be if you're loading something else like Windows. For Linux, for your boot partition, it's going to be here, and you don't want to make it too big, no more than 200 megabytes. If it's too big, then it won't work. So we will go ahead and choose. Oh, okay. We'll go ahead and choose 200 megs or 200 megabytes. Make it 205, so I'll even out at 200. You want this at the beginning of your partition or at the beginning of your disk. Choose the partition type, which for us today is going to be extend 4. You can choose any of these that you want. For a Linux partition, I usually choose extend 4 until the next one comes out. And then you want to choose your mount point, which is going to be /boot, because like I said, this is going to be your boot partition. And then once you're done, you click on OK. Alright, and your boot partition is done. The next partition you want to do is your swap partition. So you highlight free space, click on Add, choose type of new partition. I normally choose primary, and once again you want to choose the megabyte type. Now the general rule is however much memory you have, you want to double that for your swap partition. So if you have 512 megs of memory, then you want to make your boot partition at least 1 gig. For us, let me see. I got 1 gig worth of RAM, so we can make our boot partition, or our swap partition at least 2 gigs. So I think that will do. 2 gigs of RAM of swap partition. Excuse me. Alright, you do not need a partition type. Click the pull down and choose swap partition. When you find it, there it is, swap area, and then you click OK. Alright, and then the last partition that we're going to do is we're going to go back down to free space, click Add, choose primary. We're going to leave, this is the remainder of your partition space. That's 6 gigs. We're going to leave it at that. We're going to leave it at extend 4, and then we're going to choose root. And then we're going to press OK. Alright, so now we have our 3 main partitions. And just as I was saying before, if you want to manually install your Linux, you should start off with at least 3 partitions. You're going to need the boot partition, the swap partition, and the root partition for the rest of your hard drive. That's the minimum. You can add more depending on how big your hard drive space is. But that's the minimum. That's what I normally start off with, especially if it's not too big of a hard drive. And then once you're sure you got all the partitions that you want, you can go ahead and click on Install Now. And as you can see down at the bottom, is going ahead is calculating everything. You come to this page, then it says, where are you? You want to choose the country and state that you were in, or the closest one to your area. For me, it's going to be in New York. I'm not actually in New York, but that's the time zone that they give me to choose from. So I just click on continue. This is comes to the screen for your keyboard layout. Choose the keyboard layout of your choice, highlighting it, and you can come down here and do a little test if you like. Sometimes when I'm installing this on different machines, I might go through and do a little test just to make sure that the keyboard is working. Then after you do that, you click on continue. Alright, and then from here, this is where you can choose your user account. Now, for your first one, I always choose, choose whatever you can. Let's see, mine is going to be WIL Wills. It automatically populates a computer name for you. That's alright. That's your username. Password, just put in your password. I'm just going to put in password as the password. PASSWORD. Yes, I did have to spell it out to myself. Okay, it's going to tell you whether or not it's a decent password or a weak password, and it should let us go ahead and accept that. So let's see. Click on continue. Alright, it did accept that. And let's see here, welcome to Linux Mint, welcome to, okay, yada yada yada. Alright, now it's going through and installing Linux Mint on your hard drive. So we just going to wait for the installation. Linux Mint 13 is what we're installing today. Linux Mint 13 came out in 2013. Even though during this video it is now 2014, it's still a good system to use. It's still a good operating system. It's good. It's stable. You can put it on most of today's machines, and it works very well. So it's just going through its installation, and you're going to see various screens that come up. Just going through, and it's talking about the different applications that are being installed along with your Linux Mint 13 operating system. Now, Linux Mint does come in several different desktop environments. There's Mate and there's Cinnamon. Today we are installing Mate. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the rest of this video, and then I'll come back when we're at the next step. Okay, we are back. The Linux Mint 13 CD has finished installing. Installation is complete, and when that comes, it comes up to this page, and it gives you an option. You can continue to use the live CD, or you can go ahead and click on the restart. So we're going to go ahead and click on the restart, and it's going to reboot your computer. Alright, and just read what it says. At this point, you would need to go ahead and take out your live CD and then press enter. Now it might give us a error message because I didn't actually take it out, but let's see what happens here. Alright, once it boots back up, it should come to this screen right here. You'll see Linux Mint, and then you just go ahead and type in your username. I don't even remember what my username was, but we'll try that. And then password again is password. Okay, my username and password worked for me. And you'll have the welcome screen right here, and you can choose to have that come up every time you start your Linux Mint operating system. If you don't want it to come up all the time, you can just take the X out of the box and click on close. And here is your Linux Mint desktop. Okay, and that concludes this video. Thank you very much for your time and patience, and stay tuned for other videos on Linux Mint. So thank you very much, and you have a good day.